Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Farah Asif, and I am with you again with another amazing episode of Global Woman Insight, which is an initiative that I have taken during COVID. And I thought I should be speaking with all the global leaders and especially women to put a spotlight on them and let them shine and understand them and learn from them and learn about their struggles and their leadership over the period of time and what are the experiences. You can also see the season 1 where we have interviewed many amazing women and including Ambassador Swani Hunt and Nobel Peace Laureate and many other amazing women from Pakistan and from across the globe. This initiative has been also very close to my heart because as we are speaking, I would like to share with you, which is also a connected anecdote that I will share because today it is a very important time in the history of Pakistan and China's relationship as one of the most important Pakistani satellite is orbiting is will be and by the time we are speaking is almost towards moon with China's historic Chang'e 6 lunar mission, and this lunar mission will be is has been launched just right now from Henan, China. And this is also a very important step for Pakistani scientists who had been working tirelessly, and those include men and women both. Also, today is a World Press Freedom Day. It also let us have more expression, and you can also during my interview with my one of the amazing mentor and my inspiration in diplomacy in international relations, who is here with me, Ambassador Naghmana Hashmi, with amazing career of more than 3 decades, contributing in building Pakistan's foreign relations at highest level. So first, let me welcome her in the studios in the live conversation, and then we'll continue having conversation with her. Thank you so much, Ambassador Naghmana Hashmi, for being with us, and thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with me especially because you have been my inspiration for so long.
Thank you
Little
very
bit of
much, Farat, for inviting me to your program. And I'm delighted to be here. And if I can, whatever little I have learned during my over 37 years of service on service of Pakistan, I would be very happy to share this with you and with the audience with pleasure.
yes. And ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to share with you that Ambassador Naghmana Hashmi served more than 37 years into Pakistan's public service, into foreign service. And this has been that ambassador has remained the Pakistan's ambassador to China, to European Union, to Ireland, and remained as a deputy head of mission to China and Denmark, and held amazing important positions in Pakistan's foreign service, contributing in building Pakistan's relations with global partners. And I'm so amazed by her work that especially when diplomacy is primarily considered as a more male dominating field. And Ambassador Naghmana Hashmi joined the Foreign Service when it was very less number of women were there in the Foreign Service. And she has contributed immensely in building the trajectory of the relationship. So let's dive in and have a wonderful conversation. And if you have any questions from Ambassador, please write down in the comments. We'll see them in our chat. So, Ambassador, first of all, let me ask you a very simple question. What are those pivotal moments in your life that has led you to reach and choose foreign service as a career and as a diplomacy as a career? What are the pathways that you have taken over the time period and you had choose such a challenging field?
Thank you very much. I think sometimes it's not pivotal moments that lead to making decisions. Sometimes it's a very gradual process of
Yes.
you know you learning, growing, and I think a lot depends on your background and upbringing, and what's important in your family. So I was actually raised. Uh, I must say, by a team of very strong women. My mother was a very strong woman herself, but I grew up with my khala, who was a writer and
Yeah.
also a very distinguished known officer of the Ministry of Information, who had adopted me, and also by my nanny, who was also a very aware and very educated woman. And in our family, both on the maternal and the paternal side, uh, there was a lot of emphasis on education. Now, it was not just that they wanted the men to be educated and aware and contribute, but the focus was equally on the women. That is why I sometimes feel embarrassed saying that we are the probably the least academically accomplished in our family, with everybody doing double PhDs and postdocs and goodness knows what else. So it was that environment of literature and thinking and an atmosphere of discussions. Definitely a very very involved family in the politics of the country and the world. So from the very childhood, you were aware because you were in that kind of an atmosphere. And so when I graduated, and there was, you had to see what you wanted to do next. So in those days, naturally, I'm talking about over 45 years ago, things were a little different. You couldn't really get up and say you're going into journalism because there weren't so many women, or, be a stage artist, or
True.
um, other things, because there were always one thing or the other against those. So, and also belonging to family of government servants, the focus was that you should join the civil services.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I always felt that if I have to join civil services, then I'll join the foreign service, because I'm very, very interested in traveling and in genuinely understanding the world. And my khala, I did call her my mother, also was, with the foreign service for many years, from the on deputation from the Ministry of Information. And as a child, I remember visiting the Foreign Office very often. So that stuck to my mind that I need to, maybe if I'm going to join, then I will join the foreign service. And secondly, I always thought that our parents gave us the wings to fly,
Yeah.
and I thought that we should fully utilize those wings,
Exactly.
and not only uh, try and fly in your country, but beyond your country for your country.
Exactly.
So, like, having that flag of Pakistan on your chest, and proudly representing your country, particularly in very, very difficult times. And we've gone through some very, very difficult moments.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing more satisfying than to be able to stand there and defend your country's point of view and ensure that the interests of the country are not compromised in any possible way. I think that pride and that thrill doesn't really come from any other uh,
Yeah.
service. So, in fact, it's very interesting that when I took the exam, and I had, that was also an accident kind of a thing, because the colleges were closed and I was doing my master's. I was only in the fifth year, and the colleges closed for about 5 months because of political disturbances in the country. And one of my cousins was taking the exam, and Allah said, "Why don't you also try and take the exam?" And I said, "Look, I haven't prepared, I haven't done my master's, I need to work. It's a difficult thing." And she said, "Doesn't matter. What are you doing sitting at home? It'll be an experience. So then you can always take it next time." So I was probably the last one to submit the papers on the last day. And I took the exam, and I was very surprised because I hadn't put in no work. I didn't have even have books for all the subjects, and so I just took the exam. And when I actually passed in the written examination, it was only then that I really took the interview very seriously. I had about 10 days to prepare for that. But God was very kind. I had only opted for one service, and that was the Foreign Service of Pakistan. But as I said, God was very kind, and I uh, came on merit, and I got the Foreign Service. So, as I said, sometimes God opens paths and directs you towards your destiny.
Honey, yeah. So
That's
this is so amazing. Your journey is like an organic growth of yourself as a diplomat. Organic growth, also in a sense that you've been raised by some of the most powerful women in your life. For example, your mother, your nanny, your aunt, who were there to raise you. So also share with us who are the other pivotal figures in your life, including men and women, who had played a very significant role in shaping you at those times, especially when you are into transition from being a young student, entering into a career? Who are those figures and what have they done? And especially, I'm asking this question because sometimes we overlook those figures. We say, okay, fine, they are guiding us, but we don't pay much attention as young people. Generation Z is accustomed to that. But those pivotal figures, both men and women, we have talked about your very close knit people, but there may be extended men and women who had shaped you who you are today.
I think for that, I would give a lot of credit to my school. I went to station school, and I was there for 10 years. I got into pre KG and did my senior Cambridge from there. And we had absolutely amazing teachers
Yes.
who enabled us to not only learn, but also taught us to question, to explore, to dive into difficult things. And I think I've never worked as hard as I did during my school days. And again, they're an amazing set of women.
Yeah.
And then when we got to the college, our principal at those times was Mrs. Masood, we used to call her, the famous Professor Masood's wife, who was also the principal of Gordon College. And she was an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And so when she saw a spark in anyone, she would just take her, you know, those girls under her wings. And
Yeah.
she never, never, never stopped supporting. Therefore, I still remember that when I was doing my graduation and my forms had to go, I suddenly realized that I didn't have an optional subject. And because we were so involved in extracurricular activities. We
Yeah.
were debating, we were participating in dramas, representing the college all over Pakistan, and uh, and writing, and a lot of other things, TV, radio, this, that, and the other. And I remember she put her foot down and she said, "It doesn't matter. She'll do it now." So she said, "What can you do?" I mean, there's only limited. I said, "Okay, I can do Urdu." And she called me Urdu teacher. And she said, "Let you take Urdu as an object," because I had English literature, this, that, and the other. So she said yes. And she asked, "Will she pass?" She says, "No doubt about it." And so when the forms went, I, I opted for Urdu as the optional, and I didn't have the attendances complete for either political science or literature either. And but because the principal had so much confidence, she said they've done so much for the college, and they'll pass. Don't worry. There was myself and another colleague of mine. We were both at the same problem, but it's a kind of confidence that people have in you. It's the kind, that encouragement that comes from people who stand up and say, "We believe in you."
Yeah.
So, that gives you that strength to go that extra mile and to not let yourself down,
Yeah,
but not to let them down who have, reposed such confidence in you.
exactly.
And I think that really, really sort of set the tone of where we need to,
To
to
go.
go and how we need to invest ourselves in life with honesty, hard work, dedication. This, I think it all came from the teachers, of course,
Yeah.
from the family, but after the family, I think it was my teachers in school and college.
Yeah, it's amazing when you were discussing about all the conducive environment and people who are strongly believing in you. What another trait, another conversation that I always do is that sometimes people who do not believe in you, they are actually the people who are envy or you know who are opposing forces always help you rise. It's like
Yeah.
ये तो चलती है तुझे ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए. uh, Sometimes it also happens. So my question again again is like, what are the challenges that you face? I mean, it looks amazing, but it is not amazing. It is in a sense that there is a whole lot of struggle, and there were tides against you, and there were so many struggles at that time when Pakistan was facing struggles in a societal level, at the political level as well, and you are entering into a foreign service, challenging dynamics and places. What are those challenges, and how you figure out them and try to solve them by either building allies, your own resilience, how you lean into the people.
I think the greatest challenge that my generation of people faced, by my generation, I mean the people who were completing their graduations and masters and getting into practical life, uh, I can say without any doubt, was the very regressive policies under Ziaul Haq. I
Yeah,
think because we are the only generation who can relate to the Pakistan that we grew up in, the Pakistan that we grew up in, and
yeah,
completed our graduation in.
yeah,
You know, in '79 was a very different Pakistan. It was
yeah,
a very enabling Pakistan. It was a Pakistan that was on the rise. It was economically at the takeoff stage. It was a
yeah,
Pakistan everybody was talking about. It was a
yeah,
Pakistan where women were striding forward confidently, contributing in different phases of life. And then all of a sudden, these very regressive rules and regulations were placed.
yeah,
And more like a mindset which maybe the women thought that they need to challenge it,
yeah.
but the men were probably more than happy to go along with that kind of mindset of.
True.
So that I think was one of the biggest challenges. So when our result came and we were selected for the foreign service, there was this and in my interview, my entire argument was why should I get into a service where
Yeah.
I cannot rise to the top? So, because they
Yes.
wanted me to join what we used to call the DMG at that time. And I said, no, I do not want to get into a service that I cannot get to the top of, because
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
that time there was no concept of women being in the field, being
Exactly.
commissioners. And nowadays it's a common thing. 40 years ago, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
So, and then the news came that lady ambassadors or lady officers of the Foreign Office will not be allowed to go on postings abroad and this, that, and the other. And, a lot of people said, why are you joining the Foreign Service now? You'll never be posted abroad. You'll never be able to represent the country that you so want to.
Yeah.
And I said, no, things will change. We will change them.
Yeah. We'll
And
see.
there we are. Very soon they had to change the rules. They had to change the regulations. They had to, so we went for a language training. We went from all kinds of postings. And but at the beginning, yes, And during the service, also, I think our biggest challenge was representing, in the beginning,
Yeah.
representing a country that was under martial law, but also a part of the jihad and trying to,
I
uh,
love those.
Talibanize our own, sorry to use the terminology, our own country, and
Yeah.
that cloak of Wahhabism that was being sort of thrust on the nation, which is basically whose ethos is Sufism, Its
Yeah.
ethos is of tolerance, of
Totally.
acceptance of other ideas, and
Exactly.
respecting minorities and others. So, with all those Hudud ordinance and blasphemy laws and all, things were difficult. Those were the challenges. So it
Those were
wasn't personal. It wasn't, but I think it was institutional and societal thing that, the unfortunate period that we were going through.
pre- yeah.
But luckily, during our first posting, only things changed,
Begin
and
change.
we got into democratic dispensations. So that really so the beginning it was difficult defending your country under
Yeah.
those repressive
Yes.
regime, But
It
after
really
that,
did.
I think it was okay.
It was okay. No, it's amazing. I'm just imagining the time that you're entering into foreign office and you are into a macho, into environment which is highly man oriented, diplomacy, international relations, where you have to prove yourself as a woman. How hard it was for you to prove yourself as woman. Most of the time there are a lot of myths about women in foreign service. They are uneasy, unable to handle crises. They're unable to handle, there are a lot of millions of myths that have been created. And I think that women like you had broke all those myths that are existing, and broke them for people like us, for the young people like us. So at that time, what kind of myths were there that you constantly hearing, and how did you prove yourself? Or sometimes it's also a question that, do we really have to prove ourselves as women, or as a woman, or as a professional at that time? I mean, it was amazing. I would really love to hear those times and moments, because these are very intriguing and very insightful times, as you are sharing for women like us who are on the path towards diplomacy and international relations. And it's sometimes a lot of challenges are there.
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent, but not wholly. Because you see, foreign service wasn't open to women till 73. It was only Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto who opened the service to women. And even in those days, because of half of the world was communist, and then the Muslim countries weren't that developed, Africa wasn't that developed. So those areas were no-go areas for women,
Yeah.
because, and that was not because of any discrimination. That was basically to protect your women and to send them to places which are, so Western Europe and
Yeah.
America and Canada and South America, Far East Asia were open, but these
Yeah.
other areas weren't open. So, but you would be surprised that foreign service is a little different. The other home-based services, women still have problems. They still have issues
Yes.
um, to prove themselves. Our men are not used to taking orders from women. Our men are not used to uh, having them, to women having their opinions and ideas. So
Exactly.
women who are working in the home-based services, I think, are have to face a lot of issues.
Exactly.
In the foreign office, things are a little different because all the people in the foreign office, be it the foreign secretary or the DG or the additional secretary, or it is your naib qasid security guard, they have all had postings abroad. They have all had their families raised abroad. They see their women and their children breaking those taboos which are there.
Yeah.
That's why we say we should travel, because when you travel,
Yes.
you learn, you expand, you realize that your ideas and opinions are not the only right ones. There
Yeah.
are a plethora of ideas and ways of life out there, which are all very normal and all very enabling, and how women are contributing towards the development of their countries and all.
Exactly.
So, in the Foreign Office, acceptance of women is sort of ingrained. So, you don't really kind of face the kind of problems that you would face in your home-based. They're accepted. For example, the first woman to come to the Foreign Service was Ambassador Fawzia Nasreen. She was from
Yeah.
from the 1973 batch, and that was the first batch that had only one woman. The second common had, I think, only one. The third common had only one. It was, I think, we were the 11th batch
Yeah.
that were inducting women, and we were only three. One of them left, and so we were only two. And but now you see there are more than 50% sometimes are women in the batches that Foreign Service is now inducting because of two or three reasons. There were these taboos that women in the Foreign Office cannot marry and have children because their spouses will not come with them. But now the time has changed.
Yeah.
Now, whether it is a woman or a man, everybody is educated. So, if your doctor wife can take a sabbatical and accompany you, why can't you? You know,
Yes.
and so many things are being done online. So many professions can be like businessmen, like IT, like teaching, like a lot of things that
Yeah.
you can do remotely. So it's not that a husband will just be sitting at home. So I think times have also changed that have made it very very easy for women to join the fight. The
Yeah.
world has changed all
Change.
over the world. It's there are no regressive regimes as such, and traveling has become so easy. Communication has become so easy that you can be connected 24/7 to your family. Like you and I are online. So I
Yes.
think all that has facilitated. So if you talk about service challenges, then I would say we really didn't face any service challenges. The only criteria in the Foreign Office was that you should talk sense and you should be worth, you know, uh, being in the Foreign Office. So if you were good and you were hardworking and you were able to take the rigors of being in office till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, because sometimes you work on international timelines. So and you deliver. You are calm you're confident, you're calm, you can handle those crises, then you rise. If you don't, then like any other men, it's not, you won't be left behind because you're a woman.
Yeah.
You will be left behind because you cannot pull your weight as an individual officer.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think that way I am very lucky that I chose the right service
Yeah.
because I am uncontrollable in the sense that if I have ideas, I speak out. I've never shut up. And in Foreign Office, nobody will tell you to shut up.
Yeah.
So they need you to speak your mind. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, put on paper what you think, what your ideas are. Or we have long discussions at all levels. So
Totally.
when you're having a discussion or we're trying to choose among various options, nobody looks at you as a woman or man.
Yes.
No, they look at you as an officer.
I was
So
an
I
office.
think that is why you see we have one of the largest number of lady officers anywhere in the world is in Pakistan, followed by Brazil, and we have reached top positions right from Ambassador Fawzia
Yeah.
going to the. I know we were middle ranking officers when Madam Fawzia got her grade 22. She was the first one in the Foreign Office, first lady.
Yeah.
And so she was the one that broke the glass ceiling and
Yes.
cleared the way for us. And now, we were two in our batch. Both of us made it
Yeah.
to grade 22 and two important,
Yeah.
missions. So it's the hard work that you.
It's
So if there are any young women listening to me, then please get this idea out of the head that you
yeah.
will be discriminated against in the Foreign Office.
Mm. Mm.
They make, in fact, sometimes I feel sorry for the male colleagues because, exceptions sometimes are made for women. if they want to get posted to a nearby station because their husband is kind of cannot leave the country, then they make it possible for them to be around the region, so there are direct flights and they can come back or whatever. So it's a very good service. It's a very clean, very nice, and very good service for them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for raising and answering its biggest myth, because this is a myth that is, it's going on and on. That and as you said, that it is your brain, or it's your education, your research, and your insight into very important nitty-gritties of your country's positions globally, that you need to put that on table. So one of the most also, again, a very important question and myth also has been shared, that women are always sometimes, and which is not related to foreign service, which is primarily a general question, is that most of the time women are sometimes missed from in a policy discussions. And the answer most of the time is that people say, "Oh, we could not find a relevant, experienced, expert woman." So what happened is that there are many, organization in Pakistan who made several, what you say, repositories of women's profiles, so that whenever somebody says that you are not, I mean, there's no expert woman, then they can, right at that time they can say that. Do you think this is existing in Pakistan, or it is increasingly growing, that women are missing from the policy discussions, or it is just a myth?
Look, I have had, as I said, more than 37 years of experience in the Foreign Service of Pakistan. And as a Foreign Service officer, I have never felt that my voice was not heard. Not only in my ministry, but in other ministries too. When you represent the Foreign Ministry of Pakistan and the other ministries, uh, you are an officer that has been deputed by the Foreign Service of Pakistan, and to go into the interministerials and to discuss all kinds of issues, from cultural linkages to
Exactly.
nuclear cooperation. And so, as again I said, your worth is comes from your intellect and not from your gender. But I
Yeah.
totally agree that in Pakistan we need to go a very, very long way. We have still not understood that women hold half the sky. That is something which Chairman Mao said when the People's Republic of China was established, and it is so true. And one of the reasons why China has gone from a country where a bowl of rice was not available for people
Yeah.
to eat,
Exactly.
to a major power and the biggest economy and this, that, and the other. How? By, of course, hard work, dedication, but by making sure that all the women were educated and
Yes.
all of them became an important part of the workforce of the country, not only in factories and in fields, but also in all areas of decision making in government and in policy institutions. So Pakistan has a long way to go, but uh, I would say that all is not that bad. Things are beginning to change. Now, when I go to a think tank, I see more girls than boys, frankly speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the universities, more females are,
Yes.
topping universities, they're heading uh, banks, they're heading, other financial institutions, big companies. There are also many, many, many now in the very traditionally men-oriented jobs like the Air Force and the Navy and the military. So things are changing, and I think the things are changing not because our mindset has changed that much. Our mindset needs to change much more. But I think one is the political, economic compulsions, because nowadays both men and women have to work, whether it's from a poor family or from a rich family.
Yeah.
And secondly, I'm sorry if my male colleagues may find this offensive, but but it's a fact, it's a statistical fact
Yeah.
that girls who tend to study more seriously, and
Yeah.
it is now becoming a problem because the top positions are going to girls. So they are
Yeah.
going into professional colleges, they're becoming engineers, they're becoming pilots, they're becoming uh, architects, they're going into areas which were
Yeah.
only open to men.
Yeah.
But now,
Exactly.
because their male colleagues are not able to make it unmarried, the women are taking those seats. And
Exactly.
increasingly, their acceptance is
Grow.
enhancing. Things
Yeah.
have actually changed. And I think it's a very good sign for the country as a whole.
Of
Because
course.
we have more women than men in our country, the census has showed it. So, how can you keep more than 50% women away from policy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Particularly when you have seen in our country, you've seen Fatma Jinnah, you've seen Rana Liaquat Ali Khan, you have seen Benazir Bhutto, you have seen some brilliant politicians who have,
Exactly.
contributed. Uh,
True.
can give you some very good names. They had made Sherry
Yeah.
Rahman the climate change, climate minister, and look at the way she led the world.
Yes.
Everybody acknowledged. And
Yeah.
then there was this Bhatia Inayatullah, and then Asma Jahangir, and all. They have actually made their mark. So,
Yes.
if given an opportunity and supported by their family and the society, I think the women can change the trajectory of economic development and societal development of this country. So it is, you just need to trust them and give them that enabling environment to fly.
Yeah.
Because look, if 1400 years ago
Yes.
Hazrat Khadija could conduct
Yeah.
roaring business,
Yeah.
then what is stopping women
Yes.
today doing it? You know,
Yes.
and
Yes. True.
if you had in history women leading battles of
Yeah.
being the 3,500 years ago, you had female queens in Egypt and everywhere else. So why is Pakistan uh, so against women coming
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah.
Uh, we need to have a little bit more faith in women.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
and because and because of the result of faith is just an example, your example, because somebody has put a faith on you, your family, your friends, your teacher put a faith on you, and look at yourself that how you are shining and shined globally. So when I was looking at you and my your presence at the global stage, especially when you were ambassador to the EU, Ireland, Luxembourg, and then finally in China, and you had shared your experience. What are the challenges and opportunities at those special leadership positions that you took? And of course, I witnessed your strong-headed approach in such a difficult and challenging time of Pakistan, when COVID hit the global. This was a global phenomena. I started my Global Woman Insight, and you were dealing with all those chaotic situations there, where students were there and nationals over, and you were calm and cool, and you put just how you say that, it's like you pulled the bull from the horns, you just and stayed calm. How did you manage those challenging times, ambassador? Because
Well, I
what
think challenging
you
times follow wherever I go. If you're
exactly.
talking about China, the first time I went to China in 2003 as the deputy head of mission, I went right in the middle of SARS pandemic. It was a very, very difficult time. And, you learn as you go.
Exactly.
And the EU was particularly difficult because I went just as our GSP Plus started, and
Yes.
in January 2014, and I spent 5.5 years there. So the entire parliamentary term, and to ensure that you know
This happened.
we can continue with our GSP plus status. And that was the time, if you remember,
Yeah.
uh, Pakistan was really going through a very difficult time on account of terrorism. Then we also had Zarbe As going there. We also had the APS tragedy, and we also had the Asia Bibi case. And it
A lot.
was really, the pressure was coming from all sides,
Yes.
and for a lot of other reasons also. So standing there, working with all the provincial governments, with the central government, with a lot of other people, to ensure that Pakistan is able to sort of sustain its position and is able to protect your interest, particularly in the European Parliament. And that was also the time when the Lisbon Treaty kicked in, and the Parliament had a lot of,
Yeah.
got extra um, strength and extra responsibilities and powers. So these 753 politicians from 28 European countries were out to kill you, basically, questions
Yeah,
and answers.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I remember one of the most difficult was when we had the APS tragedy, and I was called to the
Oh,
parliament
yes.
to talk and defend and whatever. And then you have to go beyond the brief. You
Yes.
have to be innovative. You have to be brave. You have to be confident. And you have to know your facts, not only about yourself, not only about your country, but the people you're talking to.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have that knowledge of where a particular country is coming from and what their agenda and what their policy is, I think it's very difficult to defend your own policy.
True.
So those 5.5 years were challenging on various
Yes.
fronts. But Alhamdulillah, we not only secured our GSP plus status, but we went beyond, and we got ourselves out of this trap of 5-year engagement plans, because when I went there, I was totally against this idea of being treated like a basket case, where a country will have to be, monitored for 5 years to see whether, the EU should continue with this relationship. I said, look, I named a few countries which I don't want to name now, that we are an important country of 250 million. We are a nuclear power. We are a very strategically important
Great.
and important in the international politics. You can't treat us like this. We need to have, because it's very insulting. So we need to
Exactly.
have a proper relationship that is not time bound and not. And we were. I know the last thing that I sort of attended was the signing ceremony of the strategic engagement plan that took us out of this 5-year cycles and
Yeah.
established a relationship which was sort of long lasting and forward looking, and also in the economic domain beyond this relationship of sort of begging them for GSP plus and this, that, and the other, but to have a more stable economic relationship with them.
Exactly.
So I think that is something that I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And secondly, when I went as ambassador to China, because you talk about these two countries, otherwise there are lots and lots of challenging things that we've gone through. That was the first thing that happened 3 weeks after I went was
COVID.
the abrogation of Article
Yeah.
360 by the Indians, and that was a very very difficult moment. And so we had to really again be innovative, be bold, and take the bull by the horn in order to ensure that our partners were with us, and that we, we we took the debate to the Security Council. And then of course COVID.
Love it.
I sometimes laugh. I go to Europe, swine flu follows, bird flu follows. I
Wherever
go
you
to
go.
China, SARS and COVID. So, bad news as far as viruses are concerned. But it was a very difficult time.
Yeah.
We had 28,000 students,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's not only that. We had thousands and thousands of people in
No,
different parts of the country, because now we have a very active relationship with China. So people were only talking about the 1,300 students in Wuhan, but people didn't know that Beijing was the second most affected, and Pakistan embassy was the only embassy functioning. Every other embassy had closed down.
yeah.
We were still functioning 24/7 in that difficult situation. And it was just not those 1,300, we had 28,000 students, and in very difficult areas and far flung areas, which were also affected by COVID.
Yeah.
So it was not only calming them down, ensuring them, but also ensuring the parents here that nothing is happening, don't worry. And in fact, I had asked the government here to, ask the Ministry of Health to put up a panel of psychologists so they could, talk to
Yeah.
the students
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
calm
Yeah.
them down. They didn't do it. So I set up a team of 10 officers who were
Round the
talking to
clock.
them day in and day out
Yeah.
in the night at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to
Calm.
psychologically deal with those parents, then to ensure coordinating with the Chinese, ensuring that your not only the students but other
Yeah.
people
Exactly.
were safe. There were um, about 5,000 stuck in Urumqi. There were about 15,000 traders in various cities, particularly in the south, and they were all stuck.
Yeah.
So, and then sort of putting up with that international pressure and the pressure from various lobbies here in Pakistan
Exactly.
to get our citizens out and the students out, and then to face that and be firm and advise the government that it would be a wrong policy to do that, because we
Yeah.
cannot be seen as standing in the line of the countries which are against China and who are using this pandemic as a God-given opportunity to basically stigmatize and isolate China. So we should, stay firm with them. And then again, when COVID hit Pakistan, then to we had to work very, very, very closely day and night
Yeah.
with NDMA and their teams to ensure that all the equipment that was available, um, that we were able to get it, and ensure that the quality was right,
Exactly.
and the
All the things.
logistics was right, and this, that, and the other. And it was a difficult operation. And the funny part of it was because it happened in the at the time of at the time of the holidays. So a lot of Pakistani institutions uh, had also sent their people back home because there were holidays. So a lot of people had taken holidays to come back to Pakistan. So we found out that half of our school teachers were here, and if you're closed for 6 months, you can't close the school for 6 months. So you have
Yes.
to have online classes and coordinate them with the teachers who were here. And on
Exactly.
top of it, we had to mount these huge operations, special operations by Air Force and PIA and all, to get the equipment that we needed, the PPEs and the equipment that we needed in Pakistan. And believe me, all of PIA staff was on leave, except one local, because everybody had gone and they couldn't come back. They couldn't
Yes.
come back,
Well,
and they didn't come back. So we actually, three of my officers actually took over charge of PIA as well, and nobody knows this, that except PIA and us and the foreign
we
office and NDMA. that all those operations, getting that stuff, getting it cleared through the customs, putting it on the planes, was all done by the embassy, all done by my brilliant young officers.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was a very difficult time.
Very.
So we were serving as loaders and medical specialists, and also, you know, airline operations specialists, because there were flights in various cities of China, and there was no PI staff. The general manager wasn't there. Nobody was there. There was just one accountant and a local lady who were manning PIA. So what options did we have but to, rise to the occasion calmly and take over the operations ourselves?
That's what.
So we did.
Yeah, and I see a lot of strength there coming when you are sharing. I see a lot of strength is coming, and as you said, these traits are very important. That you pull in that situation, you need to calm. You have to have an education, and it's most importantly, you need to be a leader who is a leader, not a follower. And in those situations, when you are facing COVID like situation where you have to throw your hands, dirty your hands, and you don't need to be sit on the table all the time in your office and saying that you are doing it. But I see that, and of course over the time period I've been looking at the work that embassy has phenomenally done, going across your beyond your scope and your domains. You had as you said, overtaken the PIS staff as well. But these are the things, these are the challenging time that reflect that
But
how a leader holds it.
Farad, if you don't mind, I would actually like to add here that I'm not the only woman in Foreign Office who faces these challenges. I
Yeah.
would particularly like to mention, God bless her soul, she passed away, a very, very dear senior colleague, Seema Nakri, who was the ambassador uh, when the civil disturbances and everything, the revolution started in Egypt, and our embassy is on Tahrir Square, and she
Yes.
led from the front. So you have to trust her. I'm not the lone example of a woman who has been in difficult situations. Um, some of our women have faced experiences like me, and they have very calmly handled the situation, risen to the occasion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
always easy, but you have to. If
Exactly.
you don't have the capacity to rise to these difficult occasions and to take those difficult decisions, that you have to at the same time keeping your team together and motivated and psychologically sort of in the right zone and place, uh, then you know what, it's a man or woman, you're not worth it.
Yeah.
you know
Exactly. True.
and
And Ambassador, yeah.
and this is what the foreign office
Yeah.
trains you for: difficult situations.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. And also, this is the time not only a discussion with you, but also celebrating all those trailblazer women who had been before you, and who will be coming in front of us, and will be learning from you, especially your work as a leader, not just only an ambassador or a head or at a certain position in the foreign office, but also as a leader. So you had also written a lot of tremendous books like Magnificent Pakistan. You had also written about Pakistan, China, all weather friendship. These books manifest at how you love your country and you have represented it globally as well. Could you also share about those written books?
Well, there's several publications. Some of them I wrote, some of them I compiled, and there's also that's Ishq, our Sufi tradition, and some of the books that I wrote, but they were translated and were then published by the name of other people for
Exactly.
several reasons. So, but you do that. I mean, I have a passion for writing.
Yeah.
I've been a literature student all my life. I come
Yeah.
from a family of writers and poets and whatever.
Yeah.
So that is that's something that's in my DNA. I'm not the only person in my family that writes, but God has given me that ability to for
To write.
languages and for expressing yourself and writing.
Yeah.
And I love it. That is why even after retirement, I do these articles and I
Of
do,
course, yes.
I
Of
teach.
course, yes. Of course.
Something I love.
Yes, of course, yes. And Ambassador, as we are just coming very closer to, I think that we continue doing conversation with you, and I will not get bored. I don't know, but I was thinking that it's all your time is also very, very precious. So, as we are almost coming to an end, one of the most important things that I would like to ask you as a mentor, as a leader, not just in the Foreign Office, but as a woman leader, what are your recommendations or your advice to women who are just budding off in their careers in any field? What are your takes or advices that you want them to be mindful, and they should be taking care of them when they will be in either a foreign service, any ministry or organization or business leaders, whatever? So what are your advices for them?
My advice basically is very simple. Once you have, graduated or done your master's or whatever, and you have come into a certain field, whether it's a, medicine or engineering or government service, then I'm sure you've put in some thought at this. So once you have joined that profession, be true to that profession. And we have a senior ambassador. I've had the very, very, very good fortune to have worked with him, Riaz Mohammad Khan Saab. He was my ambassador in
Yes.
China as well. And
Yeah.
I totally believe in what he said, that at any given time, whatever task is given to you, whether it is, sweeping the floors or it is writing the speech for the president or whatever, you should have that mindset that nobody before me has done this particular work better than me, and nobody who will come after me will do it better than me. No doubt that the generations who will follow you will do it much better than you. But in that particular given moment when you are given a task to do,
Yes.
give it your all. Because that represents who you are. And so I think that should be the attitude. You have to give it your all. And secondly, when I completed my training and I was going to join, it was my first day in the Foreign Office as an officer, and I was going and getting ready. My Khala said something very, very important, and I have sort of followed it always. She said, before you start work, God has given you a lot of power,
Yes.
and you express that power through your pen. So you should start your day with a prayer that God Almighty give me the strength to do good with this pen, both for people and my country, and not use it to harm
Yes.
either people or my country. And throughout 37 years, I started my day every day reiterating this, that I need to give it my all
Yes.
without harming others
Yeah.
and only thinking of good. Uh,
Yeah.
how far I have been successful, I don't know. That my colleagues and my people that I worked with can judge. But I tried, I must say.
Yes. Yeah.
And secondly, again, you are worth the opinion that you give, the recommendations that you make. So when you're presenting a piece of paper or you're giving your oral recommendations or discussion,
Yeah.
only worth what you're giving in writing
Exactly.
or saying, because you're only worth the recommendation that you make. So think about it.
Yeah.
You know, as we say, वो घास काटने वाला मसला नहीं है. Whatever
Yeah,
is given to you, put in your best, so that it may not be the best possible. Your seniors may, overrule
disagree.
you, whatever. But in your opinion, what is the best possible? Do it. Because you can't be bigger than your nation, bigger than your state,
Exactly.
and your a lot of taxpayers' money goes into
Yes,
maintaining diplomats and bureaucrats and everything.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
you need to justify
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And it's called the civil service. It's not called the civil rule.
Yeah,
So you need to differentiate between them.
exactly.
You're there
Exactly.
for service and service for your country. I
Yeah,
always used to tell my officers and everybody that I met in life that you cannot be, your importance cannot be bigger than
yeah,
the importance of the country that you represent. So if you
exactly.
want that green passport to have value, you want that green passport to be respected,
Exactly.
then you have to rise to the occasion and
Exactly.
put in your contribution to ensure that it is respected. If you
Exactly.
will not work, if you will take bribes, if you will come to office at 12 o'clock and leave at 4 o'clock, then this country will go nowhere.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
burn, you have to burn that midnight oil. We've done it. We've done
Exactly.
it being married, having children, being sick. I mean, nothing has stopped us,
Yeah,
and nothing will stop you
yeah, exactly.
because the
No,
future of
nothing.
your country, of your
Exactly.
nation depends on you.
Exactly. Nothing can stop you to do the best of the possible. That any,
Only
this
you
is.
can stop yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It is only you who is stopping you from becoming any big leader that you want. Give it your best, and this is our message. And this is the thank you so much, Ambassador Hashmi, for sharing this important message, especially to the young people that at this point in time. The other day, I was reading that if you continue blaming others for institutions or anything else, it means that you will grow less, you will not grow that, not grow much. So instead of blaming anybody else, just begin looking inside, find your true values, find your true skills, and learn from the mentors like Ambassador Hashmi and grow in your life. And to add to what Ambassador Hashmi is saying, please read well. This is a very important point. And also develop a critical thinking skills in your insight so that you be able to analyze and look at things what they are, truly are, and trying to find the truth. So thank you so much, Ambassador Hashmi, for being with us. I mean, this was the most lively conversation that I didn't know where the time went. Thank you so much for your presence. And please stay with us before we sign off. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll be coming back again next Friday with amazing woman leader representing Pakistan or across the world. Let's see who will be with us next time. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be signing off and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you.